Guys, so this is going to be a introductory lecture to the three rhetorical appeals that we're going to be using throughout the year for your articles of the week, except for the very first one. So how this is going to work is you're going to watch a lecture video. Ooh, it's super exciting with me, and then there's going to be a slideshow that you'll have access to for reference, and then you will have a notes page that you're going to fill out after you've watched the video. And then you will use that note sheet for a quiz the following day. Okay. So here we go. So there are three major rhetorical appeals that we're going to be looking at throughout the entire year, and pretty much every nonfiction piece and some of the fiction pieces that we are going to read are going to feature these three things. So by the end of the year, you should be pretty good at looking for these rhetorical strategies. So the first is going to be logos, and that's the appeal to logic. Okay, and this is probably the most difficult one for most people to understand. Okay, so for logic, basically what you're looking for is a couple of things. You're looking for statistics, right? So that'll be the evidence sheet that you see here in the first bullet point. Okay, so things like statistics, numbers like that, that's going to be a good sign that you'll be looking at a logos argument there. Okay, so they're going to give you a piece of evidence. And then what they're going to do in the pieces that we're going to read is they're going to explain how that evidence must bring you to a logical conclusion. So it'd be something like if I said, people who have a college degree over the course of their life earn $1 million more than people who don't, right? So the logical argument there is that, well, I want to make more money. So if I get a college degree, then I will make more money. So you see how the chain of logic works, right? $1 million more, good. What do I need to do to get $1 million more? Get a college degree, right? So that's a statistic and then a chain of logic that comes out of it. Other things that they'll do for logos would be citing facts from experts and then using them to lead the reader to a conclusion. So you see my little advertisement that I have down here for it's a public service announcement, and it is anti-teenage pregnancy service announcement, right? So it says, got a good job. I cost thousands of dollars each year. So they don't really come right out and say, don't have a baby. But what they say is a baby is expensive. And the conclusion that they want you to come up with is that because babies are expensive, and me being a teenager, I don't have much money, I can't afford to have a baby. So I should be careful with my sexual choices. Okay, that's the purpose of that advertisement there. So let's take a break here for a second, and we're going to look at a example of logos in a commercial. So we'll go over here to YouTube real quick and we'll wait. Okay, I'm going to move my little floating head over here to the middle, and I'm going to press play here. So we're just going to watch this for a second.
The Davis twins are alike in nearly every way, right down to brushing their teeth. So how did only one get gingivitis? Well, 1 in 2 people do. So I told Karen about new Crest Pro Health Clinical Gum Protection Toothpaste. It helps eliminate plaque at the gum line, helping prevent gingivitis. It's even clinically proven to help reverse it in just 4 weeks. And it protects these other areas dentists check most. Looks like the twins are even again. New Crest Pro Health Clinical Toothpaste. Life opens up when you do.
Okay, so the argument there is that Crest toothpaste prevents gingivitis. So notice some of the statistics that they gave you. 1 in 2 people gets gingivitis, right? So they give you a problem, that is a statistic, right? And then they give you the answer to that problem, which is Crest toothpaste. And they do that using logic. That's an example of logos. Okay. So here's some more examples, just so you can make sure that you understand this, right? All men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal, right? So that's an example of a chain of logic, right? So I give you a premise: all men are mortal. Then you have to agree that Socrates is a man, and so if those two things are true, then Socrates must be immortal. I know it's a little confusing, and again, I'm not expecting you to really get all of this right away. It's going to be a thing that we practice throughout the year. Okay. And you can read those other examples yourselves. Again, you have access to this slideshow, so you can view it to take your notes and do anything that you need to do. Okay. Next is the appeal to emotion. And so pathos, that's the appeal to emotion. And what these arguments will do is they will try to make you feel something. So with logos or logic, you should be on the lookout for statistics or expert opinions or chains of logic, right? With pathos, you should be on the lookout for your emotional reaction to a piece of information, right? So these advertisements are designed to make the audience feel a certain way so that they will convince you to agree with them, right? So you see here these two pictures that I have. These are anti drunk driving and anti car accident advertisements or public service announcements. So what they want you to see here is they want you to be emotionally shocked, right? So we have the lady on the left. If you look down in the corner of that advertisement here, that shows a picture of her before her car accident. And then the larger picture is a picture of her after the car accident. And what they want you, the emotional reaction that they want you to have is they want you to be shocked. They want you to say, oh, how awful that that lady now has to suffer with this just because somebody had a couple of drinks and got into the car. And then they want you to say, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to do that to another person or have that happen to me. Okay. So I'm going to pop back over to YouTube here and we're going to watch a public service announcement from Ireland about speeding. And while we watch this, I want you guys to just kind of take stock of your emotional feelings and reactions to this advertisement. Okay. So again, you're just going to think about how your emotions hit you as you watch this unfold.
She's got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories where everything was as fresh as the bright blue sky. Now and then when I see her face, she takes me away to that special place. And if I stayed too long, I'd probably break down and cry. Oh, sweet child of mine.
Since 2000, speeding has killed a classroom of our children.
Oh,
Shame on you.
sweet love of
You can never
mine.
control the consequences if you speed.
Okay. So how did that advertisement make you feel? Right. For me personally, it makes me uncomfortable there at the end. So like I kind of laugh a little bit. Because like whether they just fictionally, it didn't really happen, of course, but they just killed an entire classroom full of kids. And there's that weird like squishy sound effect at the end, right? But it makes me emotionally uncomfortable, and when I get emotionally uncomfortable, I chuckle, right? For you might think, oh my, how terrible, or it might have been shocking, right? But that emotional reaction is what they're trying to get. And what they want you to do as a result of that emotional reaction is not speed, right? So the point is don't speed. And how they make you think that, wow, I really shouldn't be speeding is by giving you that emotional, shocking response, right? So that's a pathos argument. Other examples of pathos arguments would be like those ASPCA commercials with the dogs that are in the cages and it sings in the arms of the angels, and it just makes you feel sad and you feel the urge to like go out and adopt a puppy all of a sudden, right? That's an example of a pathos argument. So what you're looking for is arguments and words and images that make you feel an emotional response. That's pathos. Okay. So more written examples. If we don't move soon, we're all going to die. Can't you see how dangerous it would be to stay? Right. So the emotion that they're trying to get you to feel there is fear, right? And they're doing it by trying to make you panic. Okay. And then what they want you to do is move. Right. Makes sense? Okay. After years of this type of disrespect from your boss, countless hours wasted, birthdays missed, it's time that you took a stand, right? So it's an appeal to anger, to your emotion of anger, right? All of those things that happened to me were unfair, and now I must stand up for myself. That's another example of pathos, right? So any emotion that you feel as a result of an argument is pathos. And then the third of all of these is ethos, or the appeal to ethics. And this one is going to feature experts or people who are famous and things like that, right? So this answers the question, why should I believe you, right? So ethos, ethics, credibility, right? And the way that I remember this one is ethos, E for ethos, E for expert, right? So ethos is almost always going to feature some kind of expert that you think is credible, right? So if the president is speaking about issues of foreign policy, you'd have a tendency to believe them because they're supposed to be an expert in dealing with other countries. That's part of their job, right? The whole reason that you're listening to me give this lecture and hopefully taking notes, fingers crossed, is that I am your classroom expert in English, and rhetoric is a part of English, which is why we're learning this stuff, right? So you see on the presentation here where we got Shaq, right? We got Shaquille O'Neal, and he is promoting Icy Hot, right? Which is you guys aren't old enough to know this yet, but Icy Hot's for like achy muscles and stuff. So we think, wow, Shaq is a professional athlete. He puts his body through a lot of really difficult trials and makes his body do all kinds of weird things that it's not really supposed to do. And he does basketball, which is a high impact sport. He's doing a lot of running and jumping and things. Okay. Well, he must know what achy muscles feel like, and he must be an expert in that. So we're going to listen to him when he says Icy Hot helps him with his achy muscles. Makes sense? Okay. So more examples of ethos here before we pop over to the commercials. Our expertise in roofing contracting is evidenced not only by our 100 years in the business and our staff of qualified technicians, but in the decades of satisfied customers who have come to expect nothing but the best, right? So you see that a lot. Like you see that on work trucks and things like that. We've been in business for 100 years. Well, if you've been in business for 100 years, then that makes you credible, right? That makes you an expert. And that's an ethos argument, right? Because if you've done it for that long, well, you better have learned something by now. So let's go back over to our YouTube video here. And this one is going to involve experts, specifically doctors, and they might not be promoting something that you would believe. So, okay.
You know, if you were to follow a busy doctor as he makes his daily round of calls, you would find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, What cigarette do you smoke, Doctor? Once again, the brand named most was Camel. Yes, according to this repeated nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Why not change to Camels for the next 30 days and see what a difference it makes in your smoking enjoyment? See how Camels agree with your throat. See how mild and good tasting a cigarette can be.
Okay.
When someone you love hears that they have...
We started the next video. We didn't want to do that. Okay. So when we're looking at that commercial, right? So fun fact, did you know that there used to be a debate where cigarette companies were trying to promote their brand of cigarette as healthier than all the other brand of cigarettes? And so in order to do this, what they did was they went to doctors and they said, they were trying to figure out which doctor smoked which brands of cigarettes, because doctors are experts in health, right? So doctors are health experts. So if you want to prove that something is healthy, you go talk to doctors, because it's an ethos argument, an E for ethos, an E for expert, right? So they use doctors as experts to say our cigarettes are healthier than everybody else's. And that's an example of ethos. Okay. All right, guys. So that is the end of this presentation. So the next step for you is going to be, you're going to have a graphic organizer, and it's going to ask you to write down some notes on the things that I have said here. So what I want you to do is open the presentation, and you can rewatch the video a second time if you need to get more information. And then I want you to fill out that graphic organizer. And then tomorrow you'll have a quiz on Schoology on this material, and that will count as your grade for this. Okay? All right. If you have any questions, please send me a message. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Okay?